Hey guys, my name is Sam and welcome back to Sam's Garden Project. So in this video today I'm going to reflect over my 2022 garden, what happened, what I've done well, what were some of my challenges, some of the things that I struggled with, and also some of the things that I want to improve on in 2023. Today is New Year's Eve. I have my notebook with some notes. As I was eating breakfast this morning, I was just reflecting on my year in my garden, and yeah, so I just thought I'd share what went well, what didn't go well, and where I can improve on, as well as some of the projects and things I want to do in 2023. So I only started making YouTube videos seriously within the last 6 months. I did make this channel probably about a year and a half ago, but I wasn't making videos that often, kind of just like a garden tour here and there. And then yeah, within the last 6 months of 2022, I started taking it more seriously, putting more effort into video making. I bought a good camera, some tripods, all the equipment, and was watching a lot more YouTubers do their thing. I've got some lemonade here. It's quite a warm day. I've just come back inside from netting the peach trees, and they are looking good. They look like they'll be ready pretty soon. So I'll keep an eye on them in the next 2 weeks, and hopefully we have some yummy peaches. So we've got Diesel running in and out of the room here. He's always inquisitive and wants to know what's going on. He's like, "Mum, why are you talking to the camera?" Anyway, so yeah, so let's go through over some of my reflections, and let me know in the comments what some of your strengths, some of your challenges, some of your goals for 2023. Yeah, just some reflection of your year in the garden, and how it went. I love to hear what you guys have been through, some of the challenges we face. I know every garden has different challenges, every garden has different successes. So yeah, so let's create that bit of community down there in the comments, and I'll try and reply to all of them. Let's go through them. So I was going through Instagram as well this morning, going through my Instagram stories, and because I wasn't making video seriously, I haven't got a lot of like video or clips that I can insert for this time last year. I was going through my Instagram stories, my archives, just to see what was there. So if I see anything that's relevant to what I'm talking about, I will put it in the video. So the first thing that I really struggled with this year in the garden was keeping on top of things. I was working quite a bit, not full-time, but working part-time, but quite a bit. Also, I'm studying as well part-time, and it's just been a challenge to keep on top of everything. I'm hoping this year, in the new year, that I'm taking some things off my plate and I'll be able to focus a lot more on maintenance and prevention of disease, and just maintaining everything in terms of soil health, fruit tree pruning, the weeding, planting, sowing seeds, all the rest of it. Because if things don't get done on a regular basis, then you have plants that are producing, and you got nothing to replant when they finish fruiting, or you haven't got that succession of crop production, so you have everything all at once. And yeah, so I really struggled this year with keeping on top of the general maintenance of the garden. So on a positive note, I was really happy with the produce that I harvested and got out of the garden this year. Surprisingly, my winter cool crops, they had the best harvest, probably due to the fact that we had a very cold year this year here in Melbourne, and the growing season for my cool crops was just really extended, so they did really well. I had heaps of broccoli, heaps of cauliflower. My onions didn't do too well because as seedlings, when I planted them, they kept getting dug up by the birds. My garlic did okay. Garlic is one of those things that you just always improve on year on year. So yeah, I'm just continually improving on the garlic. But yeah, so the cabbages, this is the first year I've actually grown cabbages that have been whole, no like internal damage, haven't gone to seed, haven't split. I harvested my red cabbages just the other day, and it's almost middle of summer. So I harvested some green cabbages earlier in spring as well. Another thing that I was happy with that I harvested from my garden in 2022 was my pumpkin harvest. It managed to get us through up until Christmas. So in Australia, autumn is from March, April and May. And I'm not sure how much pumpkin I harvested in kilograms, but it was about 5 or 6 different range in size pumpkins. And yeah, so we used up the last one of those for our Friendsmas dinner just before Christmas. So yeah, that was another positive. So I've had pretty much a year's supply of pumpkin. Obviously I want to try and grow that again this summer, so I have pumpkin for next year. But yeah, things just take time, and I'm for next year. So another thing that I struggled with this in 2022, which I mentioned just before as well at the beginning, was the weather. It's been a very cold year here, and we've had a lot of rain even in summer. I was looking back on Instagram, and at my stories there was summer storms, and we were having hail in summer. So just last summer all my videos are of pouring rain. In spring we've had pouring rain. I do have a rain like a rain gauge outside, and I keep the records on a chart, so maybe that could be another video where I could compare the rainfall from last year to this year, because we've had very wet years the last few years. Yeah, so back on the weather, the spring seedlings that I planted out, they really struggled to get going because of the cold and the inconsistent weather. The fruit trees have also been affected by a lot of rain and wind. There's not much fruit on some of them. It could just be alternating years where fruit trees produce a lot one year, then have a break the next year. But I have not many apples on my apple tree. I have a decent amount of peaches, an average amount of pears, but nothing like crazy. I think when they were being pollinated, when their flowers were open, the winds were just crazy, which it can help with pollination, but it can also damage and blow off a lot of those flower buds on the branches. With the fruit trees as well, with the weather, there's a lot of disease going around. You probably would have seen in my garden tour that I just posted a couple of days ago that a lot of my trees have some leaf disease, leaf damage, bug damage, all those kind of things, and that's just because of the weather. It's slowly warming up now. It's getting a bit drier, a bit hotter, but we'll see what January brings, whether it brings a lot more rain again or whether it stays hot and dry. Alright, back to a positive thing that happened on reflection. I started a little collection of dried herbs, which is in my spice cabinet. So I've got, from the garden, dehydrated celery leaves, sage leaves, bay leaves. I got basil from last season, parsley from during winter, from spring, and all I do is just harvest it. I dehydrate it or let it dry naturally, and then just put it in a processor or something to grind it like quite coarsely, so that it's still got that texture and the flavor. It's not being put into a powder, because powder, it can be useful, but if you're gonna have it like in smoothies, a powder is good. But if you want to put it in dinner, then you want that kind of that flaky texture of herbs. So I'm hoping to add on to that this summer. So I have a lot more basil, have some oregano, have thyme, have all the herbs that are grown year round, and rosemary, but also turn that into like rosemary salts and other preserves that I can use throughout the year. So I think that were my only two struggles, was keeping on top of things with the maintenance and dealing with the weather. Back to another positive thing, I got chickens at the start of January in 2022, and they have made a huge difference to my garden, both in scratching up soil and making a mess and digging up plants, but also in the compost they make, the pest control. So they do free range the garden when I'm out there sometimes and they get to eat bugs, and they get to dig up the soil, they eat worms, they eat whatever they find, crickets, spiders. I know like any insect's good in the garden, but the chickens are getting their numbers in control, so it's not overrun by a certain type of bad insect. Even snails, the small ones, if I see any, I give them to the chickens. I know that I think slugs aren't good for chickens, but ducks eat slugs. I don't know. I haven't got ducks, but maybe in the future. And also the value of fresh eggs. So obviously throughout the world we've had supply chain issues and etc, etc, but having fresh eggs daily, it's just been really beneficial. You don't realize the value in it until you do it. Every day I have about 3 eggs. The chickens are probably coming up to 12 months old, so they'll probably stop laying during this winter, but for the last 12 months I've had 3 eggs pretty much every day. For little maintenance for upkeep, just make sure they have some food and fresh water, and they have clean bedding in their chicken coop. And yeah, so they've been really beneficial to my garden. I really wanted chickens, and I'm glad that I did it, because they've just added so much to my garden. So I've got 2 things that I want to focus on in 2023, and a big one is fruit tree pruning, especially stone fruit. I've got quite a few peach trees, as you've seen in my videos, and I want to learn how to look after them properly. So I know that there's different pruning for different types of fruit trees, so it's best to do summer pruning for stone fruit, and you can do winter pruning for like apples and pears and quinces and stuff like that. So it's a skill that I want to learn, not just for this property and to look after these trees, but I want to take that skill in the future, because I do want to have an acreage and have fruit trees and veggie gardens, and I want to learn how to respect the tree, maintain it so that it provides the most that it can for me, and that I don't damage it in any way. I don't want to introduce disease or yeah, impact the tree negatively, because fruit trees are an investment. They take years to yield a harvest, and I don't want to be waiting all this time to then screw it up by cutting it wrong or damaging it in a way that it won't bounce back. I know that fruit trees and plants are very resilient, and they'll come back from a hard pruning, but it's just a skill that I want to develop so that when I'm doing it properly. So on that note, on fruit tree pruning, especially summer pruning, if you guys know of any resources or YouTube videos or anything that might help me develop my skills in that and learn some more about it, just please let me know in the comments. Like, links are fine. Like, it's something that I really want to focus on. Just because I didn't plant all these fruit trees in my garden, I inherited them when we bought this house, and I want to look after them. Like, that's pretty much the moral of the story. I want to look after what we've been given. I recognize and understand the value in having so many different types of fruit trees. Pretty much from what we've got, you could be self-sufficient, but I'm not relying on that at all. The supermarket's just down the road, so it's not a big deal. But in saying that, I would love to be able to harvest everything from my fruit trees and live as long as possible from what I've got in my garden. So my second focus that is important for me in 2023 is the soil health, especially of my raised growing beds. So the raised beds where I've got my veggies in. Soil health is a continual process for me. I started working on it seriously in this year, during autumn and winter, and going forward it's going to be a top priority, just adding nutrients back into the soil. I do want to have a productive growing space, so I need to keep the soil healthy, so I have healthy plants and they produce a lot of food. And yeah, so just keeping in mind like what I'm putting into the soil, trying to keep it organic, making my own compost, using worm castings when I'm planting seedlings, covering it by mulching it, using green cover crops, green manure, all that kind of stuff. Just, I've got a lot to learn about how to manage the garden. I haven't done any formal training in horticulture or whatever. This is just what I've grown up learning and what I've seen on the internet and what I've been doing. I'm learning by my mistakes, but I want to learn a lot more about it. So that's another big focus area for 2023. So I think that's all I've got off my little notes here. We've been through them all. Today is New Year's Eve, so I hope you have a very happy new year. You celebrate safely, and yeah, I look forward to seeing all your gardens in the new year. And yeah, let me know down below in the comments any of your garden goals, any of your reflections from 2022. It wasn't the best year for me in terms of other areas, but the garden is something that I'm looking forward to improving and working on in the future. So yeah, that's it for this video. That's it for 2022, and I'll see you next year. Thanks guys.